Hi, John. It's Tickling Adam.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Come on in.
Thank you.
Go ahead and have a seat. Hope you had no trouble finding your way over here to the office.
Not a bit. I had very clear instructions on how to get here. Found it right away.
Good.
And I got to tell you, on the way through the door when I came in here, I saw a matched set of golf clubs up on the wall. It said Jack Nicklaus on them. Tell me where you came across those.
You noticed those, huh?
I sure did.
I got those as a birthday present from my wife a couple months ago.
Wow.
She got those at an auction she went to, and she knows how much of an avid golfer I am, and so she surprised me for my birthday. And I'm real proud of her.
That was quite a find. I don't suppose you've tried those out yet, have you?
No, I don't know if those are designed to be tried out, but I do play on a regular basis.
That'd be a real temptation for me if I had them hanging on my wall.
I'm kind of scared to touch them. I'm just not that good enough. We're not quite good enough yet.
All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me today. As I mentioned to you on the phone, we're putting together a small group of company presidents and key people just like you to talk about ways that we can impact bottom line profits and productivities in companies much like yours.
Okay.
It would be helpful, I think, if before we started, you knew a little bit more about our firm and how we operate. And then it would certainly be helpful to me if you could tell me something about yours so that I can understand better how you communicate with each other in your organization. Would that be okay?
Yeah, because from the conversation on the phone, I really wasn't quite sure exactly what you do, but you know, I'd like to know what you do.
Sure. I wonder if it would be possible for us to move over to the table over here, because I'd like to show you a few things. Would that be okay?
Sure, no problem. Let's do that.
All right. As I mentioned, I thought it might be helpful if first I could tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and then it would be helpful, John, if you could tell me a little bit about your organization and how you're structured. Would that be okay?
That'd be great.
In our company, we specialize primarily in working in-house with companies at the managerial leadership level in the company. And we work in-house on your goals, on your schedule, and we're able to produce very measurable and very inspectable results. Now, our goal, of course, is to work with all of your people, but I'm not here today to talk to you about all of your people. I'm here to invite you and perhaps one or two of your key people to attend what we call an executive showcase, which is an opportunity for you to see firsthand how we produce the results that we produce.
Okay.
Now, we use this executive showcase for three different reasons. One, as I just mentioned, is to allow companies like yours to see firsthand how we do what we do. But it's also used for companies who promote somebody or hire somebody from outside and they want to bring them up to speed with other people in their organization. This is a resource for training those people and bringing them up to speed.
Okay.
We also use the executive showcase for smaller companies that may not have enough people to warrant in-house training. What I'd like to do is show you a little bit about some of the organizations that we've done business with. Here's a list of a number of them and some statements from some of them. Perhaps you recognize some of these companies, both small and large, that we've done work with in the past.
Sure. Are these your clients here?
Yes, they're both my clients and clients that are done by other organizations that belong to part of our franchise network all across the country.
Okay.
And here's a letter from one of our local organizations. You've heard of Greyhound Bus Line, and you can see some of the results that we've been able to produce for them. There's also a nice letter in here from a local investment corporation. You might know a little bit about these people.
Yeah, they're just about 15, 20 minutes down the road. I get
Is that right?
some of their people call on me from time to time.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, we do business with companies both large and small and all across the United States. What I would like to be able to do now, John, is ask you a little bit more about your company and how you're structured so that I can understand better how you communicate with each other within your organization. Would that be okay?
That'd be great.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a little circle here on my paper, and I'm going to put your name in here, John. Now, I understand that you're the chief executive. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm the chief executive officer. What else would you like to know?
All right. Tell me a little bit first, John, how some of the things that you've been able to do thus far to build your company. How did you get to be the CEO of your company?
Well, we've been in business for about 50 years.
Mhm.
So the business was primarily started by my father and my uncle
I see.
back in the early 40s.
Uh-huh.
We started out basically as a two-man business and have grown now to where we've got about 75. Shortly should be about 80 employees, and we roughly stay about that throughout the year. My father decided earlier this year to take an early retirement, and I've been with the business for about, as a professional, for about 6, almost 7 years, odds and end jobs since I was old enough to walk. So,
Is that right?
You know, all of us, my brother, my sister, we all work within the business.
That's interesting. And so when your dad decided to retire, he made you the chief exec?
He sure did.
Man, that's the way to go, isn't it?
I'm okay with that.
Tell me, John, are there, being a manufacturing firm, I suspect that this is divided up into a number of different little parts. Is that?
Yeah, I guess in real simple terms, there's 4 primary areas or divisions to our company.
Okay.
We've got a sales staff, naturally. We've got an administrative or an operations staff. We've got a manufacturing department, and then we have our delivery department.
Delivery, okay. Tell me first about your sales staff, would you?
Sure. We got a sales manager. Her name is Sue,
Mm-hmm.
and Sue has 10 people.
Okay.
2 inside salespeople,
Mhm.
and then we have 8 outside salespeople.
2 in and 8 out, okay. All right. And they're primarily responsible for bringing in business for your organization.
Yeah, we manufacture pumps and we market those to some of the oil and gas related companies here within about a 250-mile radius.
I see.
And each of those reps has a specific territory, and they go out and sell to that different territory.
I see. Tell me about your administration. Who's in charge there?
That's Judy.
Judy?
Judy runs the administrative department. In fact, Judy is my assistant, and then we have 4 other assistants that work that primarily report to Judy.
Okay. And who's in charge out on the manufacturing floor?
That's Fred.
Uh-huh.
We've got 2 shifts.
2 shifts,
We've got, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have 30 on the day shift,
Uh-huh.
and we have 15 on the night shift.
Okay. Are there like day supervisors, night supervisors, or that report to Fred, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
we have 2 supervisors in the evening, and we have 4 supervisors during the daytime.
Okay. All right. And how about delivery?
That would be Steve,
Uh-huh.
and then we have 10 different trucks that to do the deliveries for us, and then we've got drivers that work in that department.
And are there people that load these trucks out there with Steve? Or?
Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 people that help in the loading and unloading of the trucks, and then we have a driver for each. And we have some part-time people that help us from time to time in there, but they're not full-time employees.
Okay. Let me just show you this and make sure that I've made a kind of a basic picture of the company. Is there anything that you would change about that or add to it? Sales with Sue and the 2 in and 8 out salespeople. Administration with 4. Then we have 2 shifts with 4 supervisors on day and 2 at night. And then we have 10 trucks with the drivers and 4 or 5 loaders and some part-time people. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, I mean, my brother and sister are involved in the business, but they're more just kind of as they need to or want to. It's more in public relations and sales,
Okay.
but not anything formal from any other standpoint.
Okay. Tell me, of all of these departments, if you could point at one that really does things the smoothest, with the least number of hitches, the one that gets along the best, that you have to pay the least attention to, who would you be talking about?
Probably without a doubt, Al, it'd probably have to be manufacturing.
Manufacturing? Tell me about some of the things that they do out there that makes them run so smoothly.
Well, they communicate real well among themselves. They're very efficient. Our quality, we have one of the things we pride ourselves on is the quality of our pumps. Most of the pumps don't come back, and we don't have deficiencies. We have a 100% guarantee on our pumps within a 90-day window, and so we want to make sure that our quality is very high. We have probably less than 1% of all the pumps that go out ever come back with any kind of deficiency. So that's something we're proud of.
Okay.
All in all, they just tend to get things done. I don't have to spend hardly any time. Deliveries go out on time. I just wish we had more sales to bring in the door to keep them busy, because every now and then I have to scale back on hours and things of that nature, and I don't like doing that.
Okay, let me just finish this note here. Okay, so the way I understand it is then you're pretty proud of the way they communicate. They seem to be efficient. Their quality is really high. Things are done on time. Deliveries are done on time as a result of it.
Right.
Pretty proud of these guys, huh?
Real proud.
I also heard you say that you wish your sales were improved. Is that to say that if you could bring one of these other departments up to speed with the manufacturers, that's where you'd begin?
I certainly be interested in increasing sales. Yeah. In fact, do you do sales training?
Well, it would depend on what you needed to do for your salespeople, whether we talk about sales training or what kind of training. Let's talk about your sales department for a minute. Okay. Supposing you wanted to bring them up to speed with your manufacturing, what are some of the things that you feel that they could do differently than they're doing now that would have an impact on profits and productivity?
Well, one, they could just have them out and about making more sales calls. I see them in the office too much, and when they're in the office, that means they're not selling, and that doesn't make anybody any money. You know, I don't know if our repeat factor is as high as I'd like for it to be. I know our quality's high. But it goes, sometimes there's gaps in between when we do business with some of our older clients.
Is that right?
And I'd like to see us, do some more from a repeat standpoint.
So, resales. All right. Is there anything else that you can think of that these people need to do differently?
Other than just having some, a little bit more positive attitude, probably nothing. I just want to see them out there making sales. Because when they're in the office, that's not happening.
Okay. All right. So, what I heard you say is that more sales calls would probably have the greatest impact. You're interested in resales, that their attitude is having some kind of an effect on their ability to sell. Is that?
I would guess that. I don't know if their attitude has any impact on them selling. I just know that sometimes when they're in the office, they're not always the most positive.
I see.
They complain a lot about, low commissions or not enough prospects or just little things like that. So just a little bitty chatter that goes on, just some negativity.
I can understand that. Let me ask you this. If it were only possible to address one of these issues, which of these issues would you address first?
Of which issues?
More sales calls, resales, improved attitude, being out and about. Which?
More sales calls.
More sales calls? Let's talk about more sales calls for a minute, just so I understand. Roughly how many calls do they make now in a day or in a week?
I don't even know if I know.
Is there a way we could find that out?
Short of talking to each individual salesperson, I don't know if we could talk about or know a specific number of how many sales calls. I know it's just not enough.
What kind of an increase are you looking for?
Um,
Or what
I
would
remember
you?
when I was in the sales department and I was out there,
Mhm.
which is one of the first areas that I started to work in. Um, I'd see 4 or 5 people a day. Sometimes the call may only be 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes I'd be there an hour, but I'd get out there and I'd work my territory and I'd see 4 or 5 customers a day. I'd stop in and do some cold calls. I don't know if they do that. They tend to be a little on the, I guess you could say, the lazy side, and that doesn't make anybody any money, let alone them or us.
So we need to be able to get the sales calls to some level.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a level to shoot at.
5.
You need to get 5 per day, is that
5 per day, yes.
okay? All right. Supposing we can find a way to get that job done,
Mm-hmm.
all right? And supposing it were possible to actually increase the number of calls to 5 a day.
Okay.
What are some of the ways your company might benefit?
Well, naturally, we would increase sales. I'll ask you a question. I notice on here it says improve customer satisfaction.
Mhm.
You guys do customer service training?
Well, it depends on what you mean when you say customer satisfaction.
Mhm.
Improve customer satisfaction might mean a number of different things.
Mhm.
It could be on-time delivery, but I heard you say that your delivery is right on.
Sure.
So, but if that were a problem, then it may be that issue that we would address, and that's what that indicates, as
Okay.
opposed to customer service.
S-
Why do you ask?
Well, I noticed that, and I'm interested in in helping resales, and maybe I need to do something for. I've been thinking about doing some customer service training for my people. I know there's a local seminar just down the block for about $49 a piece, and
Mhm.
do you do anything like that?
No, we don't. What we do, as I mentioned, is we work at the leadership and management level, the
Mhm.
supervisory level in an organization like yours. And mainly, we need to identify things that need to change
Mm-hmm.
that will impact your bottom line profits and productivity. Now, you mentioned that an increase in the number of sales calls would be beneficial to you,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Well, if we could find a way to change that behavior and actually increase the number of sales calls that are being made, what are some of the ways, besides increased sales, that your company would benefit?
Well, we'd have new customers.
Hmm.
Um,
New clients?
we'd have more
Uh-huh.
new clients, more new customers.
Uh-huh.
Naturally, as I said, we would increase revenues.
Uh-huh.
Who knows? Maybe our repeat would increase if we're out there seeing more people. Um, some of our resales might happen a little quicker.
Okay. How about the people who would have to make the changes, the people who would have to actually go out and make additional calls? How would they benefit from this?
Well, naturally, they make more money.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So, I think that in and of itself would probably be a motivation, is if they'd be able to make more money, and because around here there's quotas, and after a certain period of time, 90 days, if you don't meet certain quotas, then you have probation, and after that, if you don't do it for another 60 days, then you're out of a job. So
Okay.
we need people that can produce.
All right, and obviously if they're making more money, that would have a very positive impact on their attitude, wouldn't it?
It did when I was out there.
You
So.
betcha. Okay, so a more positive attitude.
Mhm.
Okay. And obviously when a positive attitude comes about, then perhaps resales are, so it's kind of a circle, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
It all kind of feeds off of itself.
Well, it's wonderful that your company would receive all kinds of benefits like this, and the individuals that would have to bring about these changes benefit
Mhm.
as well. Tell me something, John. If we make these changes and everybody else benefits,
Mm-hmm.
help me understand why you would invest company time, effort, and money to bring this about. How do you benefit when this happens?
Well, naturally, sales go up. The company makes more money, and that definitely affects my bottom line personally.
The bonus or?
Well, I make a percentage of the profits and things of that nature, but it's more so I have an agreement with my father that this is kind of a side deal that we have going on increase in sales and some profit sharing, different things of that nature.
I see. How does it affect your time?
I don't know so much if it affects my time. I mean, I don't spend that much time with the salespeople directly, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wouldn't have to worry about them if they were making more sales because I do some of the final interviews. But
I was kind of hoping it might give you a chance to use those clubs that we talked about
I'm going to
earlier.
make time to do that regardless.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So no, I don't spend as much time down in the sales department as I probably should or could.
All right. Well, let me kind of recap this just so that I'm sure that I understand what we've got here. If we're able to get the people in the sales department to increase the number of calls that they're making so that they're in front of 5 people a day,
Mm-hmm.
The company benefits by increased sales, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We improve the customer base. We would expect repeats to increase. The individuals making this change would make more dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're making more money and hitting their quotas and bonuses and so on and so forth, their attitude improves. And
we would hope that it would.
Yeah. And that helps everything. And on top of all of this, if we get this done, you become the star that your dad really wants you to be in this business. I guess everybody wins here, don't they?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
How do you guys do that? I mean, have you done that with any other manufacturing companies before?
Oh, certainly. You bet. We have worked with a number of manufacturers, both small and large, and we've worked in all kinds of different departments, bringing about specific changes just like this. One of the things you might be interested in is let's take a look if this project would be really worth doing.
What do you mean?
Well, it's nice to say that we could increase things by 5 calls a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to talk about that, but if we're going to make an investment to bring about that kind of change, you want to know whether it's worth that investment, don't you?
Sure.
Okay. Let's just take a look at that for a second. You said increased sales
Mm-hmm.
would be one of the benefits to the company. What kind of an increase would you expect from 5 calls a day?
$15,000-$20,000 probably
Per
month.
per month?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that per salesperson or for the whole department?
Yes, that's per salesperson per month.
15 to 20K per month
Mm-hmm.
per salesperson.
Correct.
All right. And let's see here. Approximately, for the sake of argument here, approximately how much of that would fall to the bottom line? What percentage of that?
12%.
12%? Okay. So you're making life difficult for me here. 12% of of 20%. Let's take a look at this, of 20,000 before.
It's about $2,400, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Around $2,400 a month per salesperson would fall to the bottom line if we could
Mhm.
make this kind of an increase. Okay. That sounds like a pretty hefty amount of profit for your company just by making this minor change.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were able to bring about even part of that, it would certainly be worth some kind of an investment, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Okay.
How much are we talking? How much does this cost, Al?
Well, if we do this right, John, it won't cost you anything. Like I said, we were looking for the potential of return on investment here.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're telling me is that we could look for about $2,400 a month, $24,000 a year, $25,000 a year per person
Mm-hmm.
that would be added to the bottom line. Now, obviously, if we had all of these 10 salespeople doing this, 10 times 25,000, that's $250,000 a year in added profits for your company. So if the investment required was something less than $250,000, you have a return on your investment by the end of the first year. You see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, good news is that I think that we can work this so your investment is somewhat less than $250,000.
Good. You're making me nervous there for a
Yeah.
second.
All right. I think that one question we ought to ask is, why now? We understand what you want to do and why you want to do it, and we also now have a fairly clear picture of what it would be worth to get it done. But let's look at this one other question. Why would you act on this right now?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer for you. That's a good question. Tell me about some of the things that, how does your process work?
Well, let's take a look at that. How do we get the job done? We use 3 methods to bring about the kind of changes that you want. One is called spaced repetition. This is probably familiar to you because I'm sure that you advertise your products. And the advertising industry uses spaced repetition for product identification, don't they? We also use multi-sensory impact and goal setting. Let's take a look at each one of those for a second.
Okay.
In spaced repetition, when you see the word crest, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Toothpaste.
Toothpaste, exactly. And Tide.
Washing detergent.
And this little puppy right here?
And a car.
A little car, huh? Yet the actual meaning of the word crest might mean the top of a wave or the peak of a hill. And this has to do with how high the tide is at the beach, whether it's in or it's out. And this obviously is a wild horse. Yet when we see these words, the first thing that comes to our mind is a product. Now, spaced repetition in our business helps people retain information. I'm sure that from time to time your people have attended workshops and seminars.
Sure, all the time.
And sometimes they come back with lots of great ideas, but after several weeks have gone by, how much of that do they retain?
I really don't. I really couldn't tell you.
Not very much as a rule, huh? We have found that 60% of all ideas are accepted on or about the 6th exposure. If you expose somebody to an idea just one time, very little of it is retained. And each additional repetition increases the retention level. Okay? So we use spaced repetition to help people remember what they're learning, and that helps them easier to apply it. Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Okay? Now, the next method that we use is called multi-sensory impact. Multi-sensory impact is a learning process that helps you learn new ideas quickly. We try to involve as many of your senses as possible in the learning process. So in order to do this, we have recorded our program material verbatim on a cassette tape. And one of the things that we do to help people make the learning process convenient is we ask them to read the text material and listen to it at the same time. This involves both their sense of sight and their sense of hearing in the learning process. We also tell them to do something that we've been telling people not to do all their lives. We tell them to write in the book. Now, when they write in the book, this begins then to involve their tactile sense or their sense of touch, doesn't it? So when you wrap these 3 senses together, learning comes about a lot quicker. Okay? Now, the third and probably most powerful method that we use to help people learn is the power of goal setting. This gives them the learning process in small, easy chunks. We help them determine where they are, where they want to go, and develop a good, clean plan of action to travel that route. We provide our programs in convenient weekly sessions. We provide.
For how long?
Our sessions will run approximately 90 minutes once a week over 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, depending on the behaviors that we're working on changing.
Is that, you do that here on my facilities, or do I have to send my people to a different state? How does that work?
Okay. The executive showcase will be held at the Quality Inn on Route 30, and our next one, and that's what we're talking about here today. And the executive showcase will involve people from a number of different companies. You and perhaps a couple of your selected key people will choose to evaluate this process through the executive showcase, and you would be attending at the Quality Inn. Our next session will start at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, beginning a week from next Tuesday, and it'll run 7 weeks. Okay. We will provide during that process quick, measurable results. We'll show you tangible evidence that the change is actually taking place as it takes place. And it's fun and interesting procedure that people get involved in, and it's kind of laid back. People have a lot of fun doing this.
How many companies do you have so far signed up for that?
We have 8 participants coming in now. We have 4 seats open. We like to limit our classes to 12. So what I'd like to be able to do would be to invite you and perhaps a couple or 3 of the key people in the sales portion of your organization to attend this upcoming showcase and let you see firsthand how we produce this.
What if I just wanted to do it myself, or if I wanted to send just one or 2 people? Could I do that?
Certainly. Absolutely. What would you prefer?
Why not? I'll myself, and then I'll bring Sue, my sales manager.
Okay. Let me do this.
What does that mean? Guaranteed in writing?
I knew you'd ask. That's probably one of the best parts about our process, John. We believe that our process will actually produce the kind of results that you expect, and because we believe that, we guarantee it. And I'll show you that guarantee in just a minute.
Okay.
The correct name for your company is?
John Buyer, Inc. Now, how much is this going to cost?
All right. The investment required for this will be $950 per person attending. And as I mentioned, the results are guaranteed.
$950 a piece, so we're looking at $1,900 for 2 of us.
That's correct.
It's kind of high, isn't it?
Well, when you consider that it'll produce the kind of results that you mentioned earlier, you said that for each salesperson that can make this change, you could expect $2,400 a month to fall to the bottom line. For an investment of $950, that's a pretty good deal, I would say, wouldn't you?
Can you guarantee the $2,400?
I can guarantee this, that in the first 4 weeks of working with us, you will see measurable movement toward that goal. And if you're not satisfied with the movement that you're making toward that goal, toward the increase in the number of calls that are being made, and the results that are coming out of it, if you don't see measurable movement toward that goal, you bet I'll return your money, pick up the materials, and that'll be the end of it.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Fair enough.
All right. The mailing address for John Buyer, Inc. is?
1234 Lazy Eye Road.
Lazy
Eye Road.
Road in
Robinson, Texas.
Robinson, Texas. And what's the zip code here?
76709.
Okay. And John Buyer. Do you have a middle initial, John?
No middle initial.
John Buyer.
Makes it easier.
Is that the 2nd, 3rd, junior?
I'm a 5th, actually.
The 5th. Okay. And position, once again, was Chief Executive Officer, is that correct?
That or President, whichever you prefer.
How do you prefer this?
President's fine.
And the telephone number here?
Is 719
Uh-huh.
8242.
Okay. All right, and let's see. Susan's last name is,
Roberts,
and her title is sales manager?
sales manager.
Okay. John. Now, there's two ways that you can handle the investment on this, John. We can either arrange for a signed purchase order while I'm here, or perhaps if somebody cut a check for me before I leave.
Just do a purchase order.
Okay. Do you have purchase orders in here, or do you know what your next purchase order number is, or how should we handle that?
I'll just have you check with Lisa on the way out, and then
Right.
I'll have her set that up with you.
Okay, very good.
In fact, why don't you go ahead and just invoice us? And
Well, I'd have to invoice that against the purchase order number, so
Okay.
she could provide that for me
Sure.
before I leave. Okay. What I'll need is your signature for authorizing this right here.
Okay.
Okay, very good. I'll approve this, and I'll show this to Susan. Is that what you said? What did you say the girl's name is that I need to see?
Yes, that's fine. Susan, it'll be fine to see.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. Well, thank you very much, John. I'm looking forward to having you involved in our next executive showcase, and I'm sure that you'll be pleased with the results that you see.
Sure. Do you have anything to leave about the time so I can get with Ann and we can go ahead? I can help arrange schedules with her. Do you have anything that I could about the time and the date, and the location, and what we need to do?
Yes, I'll leave that information with Sue when I in fact, I'll have her make a photocopy of this, and it will tell the location and the time and the place and everything on it, and she'll have that for you.
Okay.
Is that all right?
No problem.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Al.